What's going on, guys? Matt Kelly here. In this video we build this epic little flat water fishing boat with just materials you find at your local hardware store. I think it's gone pretty well. Check out the full build video. We're getting back to our roots and we're doing another boat build, but this time it's a bit different. See, in the past, we've restored old boats. We did the Razor Cat, we did the Half Cabin, we've done a couple of open boats. One of them is now, would be now over 52 years old. And they were really fun, and they were interesting, and it really tests your skills with fiberglassing and all of the sort of putting things together, fabricating them. What I'm doing this time is a bit different. I've taken some inspiration from a few different YouTubers and we're gonna build a boat from scratch. It's a big ask and it's probably gonna cost a bit, so let's see how this one plays out. First of all, let's move on to designing. All right, let's go shopping.
Yeah, couple of those. Couple of those.
All right, so 60 of each of those means 360 litres of capacity. That's going to be way more buoyancy than I need. As an emergency backup, in case I breach one, going to put some of those polystyrene beads into each of these and then get the lids Sikaflexed on so that no leaks happen. I should just mention quickly, I don't expect the polystyrene to necessarily do anything. I just like the idea that if one of the seals, the lid or the tap, leaks water, at least the whole thing doesn't fill up, and that will give some buoyancy. Because I'm going to have a pretty expensive electric motor on this boat. I don't mind jumping in and swimming back to shore and dragging it in with me. I don't really want to sink the motor. So it's just a little contingency. It costs next to nothing. It's light as anything, so there's no real downside for me, but I feel like just that tiny bit of peace of mind is worth it. Anyway, let's seal the lids. All right, well, that's them sealed. They've got to dry. I'm probably going to ratchet strap a few of them together, get some measurements, and then we'll start cutting some metal. All right, so that's what each pontoon is going to look like. They're just ratchet strapped together right now, but the goal is to build just a frame. So 2 long pieces of bar on the top, a couple along there, strap each of the drums to the frame, and then build the other one, and then attach them together with the platform in the middle. All right, I've just cut a cross beam, very loosely attached it, and now we're going to see how the fit goes. All right, looks good. The distance apart I think is about right. The drums will never push through it. They'll get strapped to it. I think that's going to work. I think. We'll keep going, cut them that size and run ahead. I've cut my 4 cross beams to go over the pontoons. What I've got to work out now is where lengthways does the rear crossbar go, because what I really want it to do is actually be the piece that locks the 3 drums together. In other words, that one at that end goes hard up against this curve. The other one goes hard up against the back, pulling them in this way so that they don't sort of pop out or move around too much. And then these will ultimately get also strapped around to the beam. So there's multiple pieces holding it together, but this one's got to be tight. So I measured down to where I thought it should go, eyeballed it up, lay it down, basically worked out where the rear cross beam has to go to lock it all together. That worked well. Test fit really loosely, and it's worked perfectly. So now I'm going to tighten them up a bit, and this isn't the final fit, but at least I can tighten them up, try and get it relatively square, and that's a good start. While we're here doing this, I should just mention, I'm not smart. This is not safe. I have no idea what I'm doing, as has been demonstrated probably 5 times in this video. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me that when I used the Danger killing machine grinder, I did it wrong. I'm sure that someone's going to say the materials I've used are wrong. I'm sure someone's going to say these drums are going to break in half and whatever. I'm sure a lot of things. However, it's just fun. It's interesting. I'm not pretending to be an expert. I don't know what I'm doing, but I enjoy doing it. And if it works, I think it'll be pretty cool. So take everything I do with a grain of salt. Don't copy me. Don't try and do this for yourself. If you do it, I didn't tell you to do it. Don't blame me. No lawyers, please. Yeah, just having a bit of fun. Hope you're good. Hope you're having a good start to 2023. I hope that everything's going well. If it's not, that's okay. Everyone makes their life look like it's perfect, but it's not. Everyone's struggling with something. So you'll work your shit out, I'm sure. Alright, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna finish doing this. I'm gonna get to the other one, then we'll keep talking. Let's see if it fits. Let's see if it fits. I bet it won't. Let's see if it fits. Oh, that's spot on. Alright, what's next is we take all the measurements from this. We assume. Now, here's a question. Do you assume? Yeah, you assume. You assume the buckets are all the same. They would have come out of the same mould, surely. So they're all the same. So with that in mind, we do the exact same measurements we did there for this one. All right, well, both support structures are done. So I've thought about this a little bit more, and what I'm thinking is I might actually add the crossbeam across, because that will then add all the structural rigidity to it, so I'm not fumbling around and it's falling over the place when I try to strap the individual pontoons to the frame. So I'm going to put the 2 cross beams in. That's going to be the platform that our middle seat sits on, and the outboard bracket and all that stuff. And then from there, we'll strap all the pontoons to it. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll see how this goes. Alright, well that's worked kind of well actually. The frame's pretty strong. I think on the water it'll be fine. Now I've got to attach each of these buckets, each of the drums, to the individual frames so they don't pop out. But I think it'll work. There's going to be a sort of crossbar here at the front to keep them together and at the back, just to make it all structurally very sound. But I reckon it's going to work. Alright, well that's a busy day, but we have got all of the pontoons attached. So now we move on to the middle structure. It's pretty rigid, like as far as when you lift that, it's they're not falling off, they're not moving. And because they sort of semi-interlock into each other, these supports are actually really strong, doing a good job of holding it together. So I got a feeling, provided there's enough flotation in it to support the weight, this is gonna be sick. All right, tomorrow we move on to the floor. Hey guys, what is going on? Day 2 for this build, and I'll show you what we did last night before I wrapped up for the night. So, obviously yesterday we built the full frame and got all the pontoons attached. What I've done here is added a support beam there and a support beam there. This is what is effectively the back of the boat. The front of the boat is going to have the outboard bracket though, so more on that to come, but I needed extra support at either end. I noticed that there was a little bit of flexing going on, so I feel like just that bit of riveted in alley should just help hold it all together. Let's get to cutting, measuring and cutting some wood. Okay, so we're going to do curved edges on all corners using the famous inox curve. So let's get into that. Alright, so we've drawn the curves, we've drawn the outboard section. That'll cut out there. The outboard bracket will be right there. It'll sit there. That's space for us to mount rod holders and camera mounts and stuff. So that should actually work pretty well. Anyway. And now we're going to resin coat it. I'm just using cheap resin from Bunnings here. I think it's actually polyester resin. But I've got to just... You want to wrestle? Yeah. Maybe in a minute. A minute? Yeah. So I'm just using cheap resin. Usually I would use an epoxy, but this is easy to get and not that expensive. So actually it probably is expensive, but for the quantity I got, it's not very expensive. So that's where we've started, and yeah, we'll see how the resin attaches to it, but it should be fine. Okay, so while that's drying outside, I've been thinking about how I'm going to build my transom and what I'm going to build it out of. Now, it wouldn't be unusual to build this out of plywood. There's a lot of wooden boats out there in the world. Or you could build it out of alley. I don't want to weld, I don't want to make something that's all riveted together and big and yuck. So I was thinking about other options. The wood, just because it rots, I'd love it to be something a little bit where the rest resistance is going to be sticking up, that the engine mounts to. Then I started looking at down here at some of my old sort of supplies that I've got under here, and I've got this sort of plastic stuff which would definitely work. I can't remember what I used that for, but I used it for a previous project of some kind, and there's all kinds of woods and hardwoods and stuff. And then I was like, imagine if you get some real big, thick, like almost like rubber or really hard plastic. It'd help with vibration, and I think it'd be really cool. And just as I was walking out here to check on my stuff that's drying over there, I saw this. Now I bought these because once someone, where my trailer is parked out here, once someone backed into the front of it, and so I bought these because, you know, just because I thought if I had one of these at the front of it, you wouldn't notice. But I reckon this big hard plastic thing, cutting a piece off that might just work. Alright, so I've got some photos here of the engine bracket. So from where it sits on the top of the transom down to the bottom of the twist-on brackets is about 7 centimeters, which is good. And then horizontally, from the outside of the bracket to the complete inside of this side is 13.5. I've allowed 15 just to give myself a bit of room, which should be fine. So now what I'm thinking is, if I cut... I did not think that would cut that easily.
what you want, do what you want, do it. Do what you want, do what you want, do it.
All right, transom support brackets are on, which means that the wood is now bolted to the frame at that point, which means if I got everything else right, all those blue holes where I've cut through the carpet, they should all be holes that run all the way through the floor and all the way through the alley beams. So let's see how easy it is to lock this frame down. Alright, so deck is bolted down, 6 bolts there and heavily Sikaflexed in the holes after already resin coating the holes, so they should be good. We've got a bolt in the corners here, as well as the transom brace goes through the alley there, and then I've got 2 more here through the wood. Now, I've managed, once again in this build, to under order bolts. So, I've got 3 holes that need bolts. I'm probably just gonna have to over drill them, pack them with Sika, and then use some bigger bolts because I actually don't have any more of that size, but that's all right, no big deal there. All I've really got to do now is get my transom plate for the back of there, drilled and bolted on, and then get some accessories mounted. I'm thinking seat, I'm thinking camera mount, potentially rod holders. Might as well make this thing fun. So let's see. There we go. Custom movable camera mount. I can do any angle up here, and I can rotate it around and slot it into any angle down there. That was a rod holder. I just cut it apart, put a bit of alley in there, a couple of bits of wood there, a couple of bolts through there. It's gonna have some wiggle to it, but that's not so bad. When there's weight up here, that should hold it. And then you loosen this wing nut. Sorry, focus. You can loosen this wing nut, rotate that to any angle, or you can obviously rotate it there, tighten up the wing nut, and that's not going to move there. So, you know, if I have little fishing videos, that should be pretty cool. Late here, the seat's gone on, the transom bracket's all finished, the selfie stick rack is done. We're pretty much ready for sea trials.
Can I down?
You can lay down.
Can I down?
So pretty much ready for sea trials. Looks like it's gonna work.
Daddy, my guys.
So we've attached the completed the boat onto the boat trailer. I worked out that just for weight distribution and getting some support under it, the best way was to go horizontal on the boat trailer, which is fine. It barely extends any wider than the wheel arches, so we're all good there. But let's go check it out and see if it actually floats.
Dazzling like with diamonds in the light, glowing in the night like fireflies, blushing like the sunset in your eyes, floating like a halo paradise. Somehow you make all the wrong things right. Now that I got you, we could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down.
Holy shit. Oh, that is actually frightening. It would go so fast.
I get caught up in the things you say, painting pictures over all the gray, lighting up my heart, illuminate, falling like a star, please never change. I won't be the one to walk away. Now that I got you, we could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down,
Okay, so the engine's heavier than I thought. It's still very safe, but I want to beef up the transom and put more structure under there because I can already feel it like just a bit flexy and a bit, makes me a bit nervous. But I think if I put some bar under the plywood, because the back two bolts of here are going directly into through a beam, but these two are just going through plywood, which is probably silly. So if I strengthen up and beef up this, I might even get stronger brackets for here, because I'd like to get it down a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit lower. So that's my initial thought process. My intention was always that I would drive this in reverse. I like the idea of being able to keep it in front of me and just flick in whatever direction I want to flick lures into, and be able to just click this in and out of gear, just like that. And I think it would work pretty well. However, it's just a touch too high. So when I hit the reverse hard, it flicks the engine up, which is a somewhat of a problem. When I go in forward, and I'm actually going in reverse, I had no intention of this being the front of the boat. So obviously the cones at the back, ideally you'd actually have these ones also facing that way, because they come to a smaller circle. So you'd have better just runway in the water, but it's working. It's working. It's certainly, like at a slow speed, it's very comfortable. Like I could cruise around like that very easily. And that's really, really comfortable. There's very little noise, there's very little waves. I could easily duck in and out of pontoons towards the rocks and fish in all different ways. And I think that would work pretty well. And if I really give it some, yep, that's full throttle there. That's frightening. That is frightening. That is disturbing. I would never want to do that.
We could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. We could burn it down, 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 down. Look at what we found, 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 found. For you I'm always down, 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 down. We could burn it down.